Hey guys, Tivo here. I'm very happy you guys enjoyed the Alatreon run even though it's a very short video. But that's how speedruns are. Your support been amazing, and as I promised, I'm bringing you the breakdown of how we achieved so much damage and managed to two-shot Alatreon. This Gunlance trick existed for a while, but people didn't really do runs with it because of how hard it is to pull off until the one of the most popular runs was done. A 359 Fatalis speedrun. That run was an absolutely insanity because to pull off the trick even once it takes massive amount of practice. Meanwhile, he did it like 5 times if I'm correct in a single run or even more to kill Fatalis. So I'm giving quick credit to the people that discovered or used it in runs and inspired me and my team to also start messing with this trick. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Funa-san was first to use it in a run or apply to a run. And this other guy's Donkey-san and his team who applied it to Alatreon, which is basically the strategy we used with a few extra twists, making it even faster. Contact me if anyone else was involved so I can respectfully credit the original founders. Alright, so here's how the trick works, and later on I will explain how the damage was so high and the strategy of the run. Also the reasons why this is almost impossible to pull off. Gunlance has this worm stake or whatever it's called that attaches into objects and explodes with multiple ticks, 15 to be exact. But since they can't attach to players or bombs, they will attach to the monster. Now let's see what happens if you put a second object next to the pillar. Yep, it's having a second worm stake. 31 hits, but one is of the bomb, so basically exactly double amount, which is double the damage. The guys credited before were also first ones to use snowmen. How creative is that, and it actually works. So you see a pillar, 2 bombs, a snowman, which are 4 objects, give you 60 ticks plus 2 from the bombs. This proves every object gives you exactly an additional stake, because it cannot attach to the bomb, so it counts as fired, but it attaches to the pillar or the monster. Things known about counting as objects are players, bombs, and snowmen so far. I'm curious if Palicos will count, but that's basically would have be a solo run. We all thought that thorn pots count watching those runs, but they actually don't. At least I couldn't get them triggered in the training area when I tested it, so I'm pretty sure they don't count. I'm not sure why people use them in runs. It's most likely for the KO. But Fatalis cannot get KO'd, and I've seen it there before too. Maybe just for extra damage. Alright, so on our run we use 8 bombs, 4 snowmen, which are incredibly hard to place because you cannot place them at the same spot unless all players start placing them at the same time. 2 players as objects and Alatreon heads, so this is a total of 15. It took a lot of coordination to get it so perfectly done. So 306 damage a tick times 15 is about 4,600, minus like 200 damage because the last tick is an actual explosion and does quite a bit less than 300, but we get roughly about 4,400 per stake. 4,400 per stake times 15 objects equals 66,000 damage for one player. If the last one did also 306 instead of a 100 damage explosion, it will be exactly 69,000. Huh? Think that's a coincidence? I don't know, but it is insane. Now, times 2, since we were 2 Gunlances, is enough to kill Alatreon if executed perfectly, which is over 120k damage. That's pretty much how the trick works, but there is way more into it, and please let me explain why this is almost impossible to pull off and how many more things we had going on to achieve even that 4,400 per stake. I won't go in depth for damage calculation since it's not necessary, but here are the most massive buffs. Heroics, which we activate at the beginning from his fireball, and it's a 40% increase in damage. Zook's 20% hunting horn attack buff. Various rose skills like Resentment, Coalescence, and Agitator, Might Peel, and Demon Powder. This all brings us at the Iceborne row cap of 2 times base row. Monster Hunter games do cap on row damage, so you can't exceed it with any buffs besides the post-cap modifiers. Now, you have a post-cap modifier which basically can exceed the cap, and those are the enraged damage of Alatreon, which is a total modifier, or sharpness and that stuff. And finally, the massive 50% damage boost from Assassin's Mantle. Assassin's Mantle will give you for one attack 50% extra damage boost if you're hidden, or basically if the monster is unaware of you, when the map is basically purple. Whether it's a bowgun snipe, a blade dance, or a stake, it applies to a whole thing. It's not a whole combo, but it's a whole attack. Like a blade dance is still one attack, that's why it can apply to a whole blade dance. So we basically smoked ourselves, waiting till the roar ends and Mari paralyzed it the moment it loses sight of us. Assassin's Mantle was also tricky because we would lose the boost on the shells if they accidentally hit Alatreon. Like sometimes we would miss the bomb, but since his head has a big hitbox, we would still hit his head, and you basically will double only the shell damage, and the Wire Mistake will be without the boost. So yeah, 306 was the highest number we could possibly hit here. Here's some comments that are asking if Frostcraft will work. Frostcraft is a post-game modifier, so it will be an option, but sadly, for some reason, it doesn't apply to the stake for whatever reason, but it literally applies to anything else in the game, to snipes, to whatever. It didn't apply to the stake, so it's not possible, but it's definitely not a stupid question. And let's get to the final and most interesting part, the complications, which are three big ones. The distance between being too far and missing the stake, or being too close so that the first two shells explode the bombs, is insanely tight. You have no idea how many times the bombs went off due to the shell explosions. It's just a tiny sweet spot to be perfectly positioned to miss the shells but hit the Wire Mistake with all the objects. The placement of the bombs had to be almost perfect, or at least everything in range of the stake to get penetrated at the same time. It took us a lot of time to get coordinated and put them that well placed fairly consistently, even though the time pressure of Alatreon getting up. The third and final massive layer of difficulty is the timing, which is probably the hardest thing on this run. People thought it's impossible to do this trick in multiplayer because whoever touches the bombs first, they explode, and the second player basically gets nothing. So you have to be timed frame perfect in real time and hit the objects at the same time as the other player does. This window is probably less than 5 frames. We would say 1 to 3 go in voice chat, but there is latency, delay, reaction time of course, so that prevents accurate communication and is not very reliable. So we will just try to get a feeling for it and keep farming. Here we got it perfect on this run. On the screen you will see I'm a few frames faster, while Hozumi is a few frames faster on his screen. That's how it's supposed to be though, because of latency. On a third person's view like Suk, who is in America, we will have the same delay to me, who is in Germany, but as well to Hozumi and Mari, who are from Japan. He will see this most likely in real time, as you can see in the video. Just pulling the trick off, it means that in the real world we did the trick at the same time, the combo. And yeah, this was the run where we both were synchronized in the real time and at the same time, avoided the shells, explode the bombs, activate Assassin's Mantle and all this stuff. And hit of course all objects, or maybe at least 13 or 14 of them is enough damage to kill it. Usually I take a screenshot of a DPS meter always on after my runs are done as proof, since there could be always some tinfoil heads who aren't willing to calculate themselves, but prefer calling out things as fake or cheated without to even do any effort researching or bring up evidence that something isn't correct. So yeah, that's just a safety measure, or making it easier for those people. I usually take a screenshot. So here is DPS thing. You can see we both did 60,000 damage, which is insane. It's more than Alatreon's HP, somehow still counted on the DPS meter. So yeah, that was pretty much it. Massive thank you to Mari, Hozumi and Suk, who all took their time every Sunday, staying up late, waking up at 4 AM. I'm sorry, Zook. And of course to you guys who support the video on the channel. And since I really wouldn't be doing this video if it didn't get that much feedback. So be sure to leave a like and comment if you want to support me or have any ideas for runs. Subscribe if you want to stay tuned. With that said, I wish you all happy hunting and see you in Sunbreak, guys.